I remember first when I was learning Blender, I didn't really have the confidence to make anything on my own. I used to watch tutorials all the time, and that's how I learned everything I know. But after some time, even though I learned most of the tools to be able to work inside Blender, I still was so reliant on watching tutorials. Then one day when I was surfing the internet and looking at all these beautiful artworks, I came across this image, created by Santiago Moriv. I really loved the vibe of this image and how it looked. That day I finally decided to put all my skills to test, pushing myself to create something without watching any tutorials, using only the tools that I had learned so far. After a few hours of work, the result was pretty surprising to me. I didn't really know I'm able to make such an image by myself without watching a tutorial and following it step by step. It boosted my confidence and really helped me to be more creative and make better art. Hopefully this video will inspire you and help you do the same. This tutorial is beginners friendly, so I'm gonna start with some of the basic tools first. Let's begin. So just in case this is your first time in Blender, I'm gonna go over some of the basics really quick. Now, if you already know your way around Blender, you can check the timeline and skip this part. Let's start with navigation. You can select the objects in the scene using left click. If you hold down Shift, you can select multiple objects. If you hit G, you can move them around. If you hit X, you can delete them. Whatever key I press, you can see it on the left side of the screen. You can use Shift A and go to Mesh to add new meshes. You can add a cube, sphere, or a cylinder. Over here we have the modifiers. I'm going to be using some of these modifiers in this tutorial. So right now we are in the object mode. You can switch to edit mode from over here, or you can simply hit the tab key to switch between object mode and edit mode. Now inside edit mode, you can modify your mesh the way you want. Now let's go over some of the most important tools that you're going to need to be able to model inside. If you hit the I key, you can insert the faces. Using E, you can extrude the faces. Now using Ctrl B, you can bevel the faces. If you use the scroll on your mouse, you can add or remove segments. And you can also switch the select mode between faces, edges, and vertices. That's most of the tools that you'll need to start modeling in Blender. That's most of the tools that you're going to need to be able to start modeling inside of Blender. Now let's start modeling some parts of the house. Let's select our cube and make it bigger. I'm going to scale it up on the x-axis, just like this, and a little bit on the y-axis too. Hit tab to go to the edit mode. Now you can use Ctrl R to add loop cuts, and use the scroll on your mouse to add the loop cuts. I'm going to need 2. Then I'm going to scale them down and move it to the left. Now add 2 more loop cuts, but this time horizontally. Now select this new face that we just created and hit I to insert. Now you can hit S and Z to scale it down on the Z axis, and hit E to extrude and go inside. Alright, that's good. Now select the outer faces around the window, hit E and extrude them out. Make a new cube. Bring it here. Let me just turn on the cavity so you can see the models better. Alright. Now we can scale this cube down, scale it on the Z axis, just like this. Take it in front of the window, just like that. Scale it down again, scale it up on the Z axis, bring it forward a bit. Great, now hit Shift D to duplicate it, then hit R to rotate, and rotate on the Y axis 90 degrees, and select them and take them inside a bit. Alright, that's just great. Hit Ctrl J to join them together. You can make some windows like that really quickly. Go to the edit mode again, select the top faces, hit I to insert, then E to extrude and go down. Great! That way you have some sort of a roof. On top you can place your plants or some other elements that you can download from Sketchfab on the roof. Continue modeling some similar houses to this. Then you can just simply stack them on top of each other. Now for the materials, you can just go to shading, and over here you can assign a color. We're just going to keep it simple. Yeah, I like this one better. You can hit tab and select the top faces, add a new material, hit new, maybe add a yellowish color, assign that to the top faces. And also for the window, you can simply hit tab and select these faces. Hold down shift to select them all. And again, add a new material. Maybe make this one blue and hit assign. Now you have a blue window. Simply you can assign the same blue material to this piece, and there we go. And for the inner part of the window, for this face, also assign a new material, hit new, and for this one, make it yellow, go to the emission, make this also yellow, and crank up the emission. Oh, and hit assign. That's how you can add materials to your house. Just keep it simple. Any extra patterns or detail we can add in Photoshop. So go ahead and repeat the same steps for each one of the houses. Then just simply stack them on top of each other. Next, let's model this big rock to place our house on top of it. Let's start anew. Hit Shift A, add a cube, make it bigger. Then hit Tab, select the bottom face, and scale it down. Now select this edge and hit Ctrl B. You can model your rock like this very simply. Keep it low poly. Add a material to it, make it gray. Add another bowl like this. That's a simple low poly rock you can use for your scene. Now let's model the island. For the island, just add a sphere, go to edit mode, select the bottom faces. Toggle X-ray on so you can see through the faces. Hit X and delete the bottom faces. Select the edges around it. Hold down Alt and left click on them. That way you can select all of the edges. Hit O to turn on proportional editing and hit S. Now select the top vertex, bring it down. Make it more flat. Select some of these vertices and just move them around. Make random shapes. Just to make it look better, you can go to the modifiers, add a subdivision modifier. Just right click on it and shade smooth now. Okay, that's it. You can use this as your island. Go to shading, add a new material to it. Make it look like sand, something yellowish. This is great. It works for our scene. Now let's make the ocean. Hit Shift A, add a new plane. Go to the modifiers tab and add a subdivision modifier. And crank up its number to 6. This is not a perfect circle, but it will work. Now again in the modifiers tab, add a displace modifier. Click new and turn down the strength to something like 0.07 or 6. Now go to the texture tab and from over here type, select clouds. Right click on the plane, hit shade smooth. There we go. We have some good little waves here. Play with the numbers until you get something that you like. Now you can hit Shift A again, add a cylinder, and this time select the top face and hit X and delete the top face. Bring it down and make it small. Right click and hit Auto Smooth on the cylinder. It is not perfect, but from a distance you cannot even notice. Now for the materials, just go to shading, hit new, and let's make this blue. Then turn down the roughness to something like that. It's a low poly render, so you can apply the same material to the cylinder. Now you have the water. Great. Now let's put everything together and put them in the right place. So I brought everything together in the scene. You can see I stacked all of the houses on top of each other. About this castle part over here, you can just simply hit Shift A, add a cylinder. Let me just bring it up here. Right click, shade out to smooth. Let's make it smaller. Hit tab to go to edit mode. Hit E to extrude. Then S to scale. That's good. Now hit E again and Z to go up. Like this. You can hit I to insert faces. Then select these faces just like this. As you can see in the corner, you can use Ctrl Shift Plus on your numpad to select all of these faces. Now just simply hit E to extrude and bring them up. There we go. Then just make some cubes like this and put it on top of it. Just for this top structure here. And for this part, you can use a cylinder, make it smaller, bring it over here, select the top face, bring it down, S to scale, hit E and go inside. Then make it smaller, hit E again, come up here, again, make it smaller. You can repeat the same step until you have something that you're happy with. Hit E to go down, scale in, E to come up. Alright, scale in. And for the top part, you can just hit Ctrl B and bevel like this. Select this part, hit E, come up and scale down. Can create something similar to this top castle part. Okay, that's that. I'm gonna just delete these parts. I already applied the material to everything, and for these palm trees, as I said, you can simply download some models like this. Stylized palm trees from Sketchfab, so that should cover you. Also, this bottom part that I'm using here is you can just create it with a simple cylinder. You can use a simple cylinder to create this. I added a camera using Shift A in camera here. You can see this is the camera view. At this point, your render is almost ready. You should just add some lights and get ready for the final render. As you can see, I already applied the material to everything and the scene is almost ready. And the scene is almost ready to be rendered. You can hit Shift A and add a sunlight. Rotate it until it looks good in your scene. As for the values, you can see I've put it on 6.37. Let's just quickly check it in the render view. It looks good. So now let's quickly create the backdrop that you saw in the render I showed you in the beginning of the video. To create something like that, you can simply hit Shift A, come up here, mesh, add a plane and make it bigger. So let's down over here. That's good. Alright, make it bigger and then hit tab to go to edit mode. Select these two edges and hit E to extrude. Alright, that's good. Now select this edge alongside with these two and let's bevel them. Hit Ctrl B and increase the number of segments. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna leave it at that and right click, hit shade out to smooth, apply material to it. Let's give it a color. Let's just check it over here. Like to render something blue, looks good. If you want to get rid of the reflections just in the material for the background, you can change the number for the roughness. This is roughness at 1, and if you bring it down, it's gonna be like this. I prefer something like this. Great. And you can change the color, of course, if you want. I'm using Eevee right now. You can use cycles if you want to render the scene, but Eevee is good enough. Oh, one final thing. You probably noticed that there's something missing. There was this glass around the island, right? Well, let me show you how to make that really quickly. You can simply hit Shift A, add a UV sphere, bring it up here and make it big. That's good. Okay. Now let's hit Tab and go to the edit mode and toggle the X-ray from over here so we can see through our object, and select these faces down here. Hit X and delete faces. Now hold down Alt and click on this edge. Now we can hit E to extrude and bring it down like this. You can right click and hit Shade Auto Smooth. Now for the material of it, we can simply go to materials, add a new material for the glass. Let's take a look at it. Over here, increase the transmission. Now you can see it in the render view, it looks a little bit weird. To fix that problem, first, if you're using Eevee, make sure that you turn on the screen space reflections over here. And also in the materials, over here, turn on this option, screen space reflection. Alright, and increase this number. Okay, that's good. As you can see, lighting is totally messed up now. It's like so different from what we had. Like this is so much better, right? And with the glass, it's so much darker for some reason. It just changes the render. Honestly, I didn't want to go through all the trouble of fixing it. What I did was turning this glass off and rendering the scene just like this. And then after that was done, I came back, turned off everything else, and turned on the glass and rendered the glass separately. That way I could just add it in Photoshop and use some brushes to paint some reflections. That's what gave it that final look. I suggest you do the same. And with that, this tutorial is over. You can go ahead and render your scene now. Trying to recreate images from your favorite artists is a very good technique, and it can really help you improve your skills. Anyway, that was it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.